simply constitutionparty.com. It's all one word, of course, constitutionparty.com. My campaign website is baldwin2008.com, baldwin2008.com. The website is not completed yet. The splash page is up, and hopefully by next week, the website will be up fully. And then my personal website is chuckbaldwinlive.com, all one word, chuckbaldwinlive.com.
Well, thank you again, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back with your phone calls. The phone number is 704-873-1400. Davie County is 336-499-0681, and we'll be back on the break here in just a few. All right, we're back on the Real News, and again, the phone numbers are 704-873-1400. Our Davie County line is 336-499-0681. We'd like to hear from our listeners. Call in, sound off, say what's on your mind. Our website is therealnewsradio.com, and our email is onair@therealnewsradio.com. I want to start with something that I've not seen any in the mainstream press, and this should get the phones lit up, if anything will. 2 congressmen highlight Mexican commando incursions into the United States. 2 representatives have urged Congress to take action to address the worsening situation on the southern border, which has been described by reporters and activists as an all-out war. Representative Ted Poe and Representative Humble have urged the Congress to take action regarding the frequent incursions of military-style Mexican commandos into the United States that has seen, now get this, over 6,000 deaths in the past 2.5 years, according to conservative estimates. The Houston area Republican told the House Foreign Affairs Committee that members of Mexico's elite counter-narcotics teams trained at Fort Benning, Georgia, have defected and are now in the pay of drug cartels. Poe highlighted the fact that the guerrilla-style commandos are regularly crossing the border into the U.S. and have been involved in violence and killings as far north as Dallas. The San Francisco Chronicle has picked up the story. He said the Department of Homeland Security has documented over 250 incursions by suspected military forces into the United States over the past decade. We got a phone call.
Yes, this is Dave. How are you doing today, Brian?
Doing great, Dave. How are you doing?
Good. I'd like to add something to the comments about Governor Spitzer.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'm originally from upstate New York, and I still follow New York politics, just mainly out of curiosity. Governor Spitzer, when he came into office, they called him the guy on the light horse. He was going to clean everything up. And one of his goals was to clean up Wall Street. He made a lot of enemies at Wall Street. And I understand that after he was removed from office, they were cracking open bottles of champagne on Wall Street. They were delighted that he was out.
Oh, yeah.
So he stepped on that's part of the reason he's out of there. He stepped on the wrong toes. Another thing I'd like to mention here, too, in today's paper, Charlotte Observer, there's an article about Michael Moore and some of the comments that he recently made. One of them was that we all know this, regardless of who the president is in November, we have a big mess. A big mess to be cleaned up, and I don't know whether it can be cleaned up. The next comment he made was the country has sort of been rotting from within, and the culprits are big business and big corporations. The last comment, our biggest enemy is what we should have been afraid of during these last 8 years was an internal one. And I don't mean ourselves. I mean people that were up to absolutely no good when it came to what was best for this country and best for the world. Those are the comments by Michael Moore when he was interviewed about his upcoming movie. But that's all I'd like to say. I'd like to thank you guys. Free Speech TV and your show is, to my knowledge, the only 2 outlets where things are put out on the table. So once again, thank you.
Hey, I certainly appreciate you calling, and that's what this is for. It's a forum for the public. It's not for me and Brian to come down here and tell you what we think constantly. We want to hear what the people have to say, because until we address the problems, we can't work towards solutions, and that's the goal here. So, Dave, I certainly do appreciate you calling, and feel free to call in anytime. And as I continue here, the San Francisco Chronicle had picked up the story and said the Department of Homeland Security has documented now, I'm talking about 250 incursions by suspected military forces into the United States over the past decade. Now, I bet no one's seen this on the evening news. It should lead off the evening news every night. I was surprised to hear the United States has trained Mexican forces, and some of those have deserted and become the reasons for these attacks, Congressman Poe added. Another congressman, Representative Michael McCall, Republican from Austin, called border drug violence an imminent security threat right on our doorstep, and compared the urgency of the situation to that of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. In March, award-winning national security and Pentagon reporter for the Washington Times, Sarah A. Carter, detailed the national media blackout on the Mexican incursion and the border war. There's a lot of people who don't realize how serious the situation is on the border, Ms. Carter said, even to the extent when it comes to our own government officials choose to ignore it, even though they know it's going on. It's a huge story. It's bigger than most of us even know, and the people are afraid of covering the story. We hear reports, but we don't see them in depth, she said. Well, amen to that. Well, we reported on this earlier, and I got an email from a listener saying that if it was true, it would be on the evening news. Now, here's two congressmen are stepping up and bringing to light this travesty on our southern border. People in the federal government refuse to stop this illegal activity that stands to undermine our economy and our children's future. We need to band together right here in Iredell County and Davie County and demand our borders be secured. If our federal government is too incompetent or too complicit in an effort to undermine and destroy the middle class, let's us as citizens and residents demand better. We got a phone call.
Yes, sir. I don't know how you feel about the analog TV being taken away from us. I have a relative that is computer-oriented and works for the government. And I was told to be very careful of the new HD TVs due to, I guess, a chip that they might hold that you can be viewed and listened to whether your TV is on or not. And I just bought into the program with the digital phone being connected with the TV, and I feel like I bought into Big Brother.
Well, it's been
Feel the same way, or have any ideas about that out there?
Well, it's been pretty widely reported that your cell phone can be turned on by remote control and can be used for a listening device. I know saying that it almost sounds crazy, but it just happens to be the truth. So yeah, maybe something we need to look into a little bit, because I'm not very well versed in that at the moment. But at this point, with what I've studied and what I've seen, I can't be surprised by too much.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, sir, I appreciate you being on there, and I wish more and more people will listen to you and just open their ears and their minds a little bit. There's a lot going on that nobody's catching up with.
Hey, I certainly do appreciate you calling. Call in anytime, and like I said, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, sir.
I want to finish with the story of the incursions by the Mexicans at our southern border. I think this is important. It doesn't get any reporting. What do you say, listeners? Have you had enough yet? Are you willing to tackle these problems locally? Call in and let's hear some ideas. Get involved. Let's make some changes, and let's start now. Don't you wonder why this goes unreported? It's not by accident. It is to keep the masses focused on American Idol and a blind eye to the disgrace our government has permitted upon the people in regards to our border security. I'd also like to comment on